Good morning, Dan, and welcome to part two of our mini series on prophecy. This part is going to be on predictive prophecy, and we're going to talk about the prophecy of the destruction of Tyre. Now, in our first video, we talked about non-predictive prophecy, and non-predictive prophecy is when the author is unknowingly prophesying about future events. Predictive prophecy is when God or the author is purposefully saying what will take place in the future. And this is a great example of that. Here you can see the city of Tyre, ancient Phoenicia. Now, these guys were like the richest port city in the region. If you remember Hiram, he was contemporary of Solomon. He helped build the temple. He feared God, but over time they forgot about God. They became prideful. And actually in, where is it, Ezekiel 27:3, Tyre says, I am perfect in beauty. Where have we heard that before? And what does Proverbs say? Pride goes before what? Destruction. And these guys were destroyed severely. Nebuchadnezzar came along. He destroyed old Tyre. He tried to conquer the fortress. He couldn't. He totally failed. I think he tried for like 17 years, but couldn't do it. He's like, forget this, I'm out of here. But then in 332, Alexander the Great comes along, destroys old Tyre. The inhabitants run away to the fortress, and Alexander the Great is like, I don't think so. You guys are toast. So let's look at our prophecy and check out what's going on. Ezekiel 26:12. Also, they will make a spoil of your riches and a prey of your merchandise, break down your walls and destroy your pleasant houses, and throw your stones, your timber, and your debris into the water. Okay, this is specific. This is not a non-predictive prophecy. This is predictive prophecy. The author is clearly talking about something that is going to take place, and it's very specific. Let's look at the Hebrew real quick. There are three words I want you to remember. Even, that's the word for stone. Etz, that's the word for wood. And afar, that's the word for dust or soil or dirt. And what are they going to do with these three things? Well, betoch mayim, in the midst of the water, yasimu. They're going to put it. Now, why would anybody waste the time and effort to throw the entire rubble of a city into the water? Well, we'll see. Zechariah 9 has another prophecy of the same thing. For Tyre built herself a fortress and piled up silver like dust and gold like the mire of the streets, super rich. Behold, the Lord will dispossess her and cast her wealth into the sea. Here we have it again. And she will be consumed with fire. Wow. All right, let's check it out. So Alexander the Great comes along. The guys run away. Alexander says, I don't think so. He commands his soldiers to gather up the rubble of the city that he just destroyed and throw it into the water to build this causeway, this man-made bridge, so they can get over there and take them out. Now, that's a huge endeavor and very difficult, but they did it. Here is an artist's rendition of what it may have looked like from the Tyrian side. Here comes Alexander the Great. He's throwing the stones in. He had to use the dirt also, that's the second element, to cover the stones so he could roll these huge siege towers over it. And remember, these details are clearly documented by the historians. How many ships there were, how many soldiers there were, how many died, even how tall the towers were. These towers were the tallest that Alexander ever built. 50 meters, that's 164 feet. These things were incredible, giant. And they built these siege towers from what? Wood, from Tyrian timber. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. So all the three elements are coming for the Tyrians. Okay, the Tyrians are freaking out. They come up with this plan to load this boat up with jars of oil and two big pitchers of fire, and they ram it into the towers. The towers start burning, and according to the historians, Alexander ordered them to push it into the sea. So they pushed Tyrian timber into the sea, just like the prophecy said. Now, ancient construction for the buildings and houses was stone. They built the walls from stone, and the roof was timber beams with some plaster and a lighter material over it. You couldn't use stones for the roof usually. So they used the stones from the buildings to lay the foundation. They used the dirt to cover the stones, and they used the timber to build these giant siege towers. There's another verse in, I think it's Ezekiel, that says Tyre will be like a scraped rock. They will be scraped clean, and it sure was. Here we have the prophecy being fulfilled in all three elements. Now, they finished the bridge, but they couldn't get past the Tyrian defenses. They failed. What happened was that they breached the wall in the southern part using boats and some catapults, some siege towers built on the ships, especially for the job. They got in, they burned the city, and they slaughtered 10,000 people. So they burned the city just like the prophecy said, and there was a huge slaughter. But what's interesting and even kind of funny is that the whole project of the causeway, of the stones and the dirt and the timber, was like for no purpose for them. But it served God's purpose, and it seems like that's the only purpose it did serve, was to fulfill the prophecy. That's amazing. This photo was taken in 1934 aerially. This you can see was the island, the fortress. Here you can see where Alexander's causeway was, and you can also see 2,000 years of sand and land accumulation. This photo was taken in 2013. This is what it looks like today. Here's the fortress, and it's part of the mainland. Here are still some archaeological areas that you can even visit today. So, the prophecy of the destruction of Tyre is a great example of the literal interpretation of Scripture, of predictive prophecy, and of how prophecy can authenticate Scripture. Now, another thing I want to point out is the literal interpretation of Scripture, which I just said that this is a good example of. Let's look at the golden rule of interpretation. This is great. Everybody should remember this. When the plain sense of Scripture makes common sense, seek no other sense. Therefore, take every word at its primary, ordinary, usual, literal meaning, unless the facts of the immediate context, studied in the light of related passages and axiomatic and fundamental truths, indicate clearly otherwise. So when you come across a verse like this that says Tyre is going to be thrown into the sea, or this one that's clear, they're going to throw the stones, timbers, and debris into the water, and there's no immediate reason why this is metaphorical or anything like that, then we should take it literally. We shouldn't try to force on it some spiritual meaning or assign to it some kind of symbolic thing. That's when you can get into danger. Now, that you can do that in certain places, but not here. Another thing to remember is that God qualifies himself as God by his special ability to tell the future. In Isaiah 46, 9 and 10, God says, "Remember what happened long ago, for I am God, and there is no other. I am God, and there is none like me. I declare the end from the beginning, and ancient times from what is still to come, saying, my purpose will stand, and all my good pleasure I will accomplish." So God is saying, I'm God because I can tell the future, and you can't. And I'm the only one who can. And that's a great reason Why we believe the Bible? Because prophecy authenticates it. So that's the video for predictive prophecy. And if you missed the video on non-predictive prophecy, check it out. It's really amazing. You can click the link at the end of this video. And that's it. Have a great day and see you next time.